Hello, and welcome to our next lesson on the subject of equations. In this lesson, we're going to go ahead and talk more about how to change the subject of equations. Let's begin. The primary purpose of formulas is to find unknown variables, just like we learned in the last lesson. If some of the variables of the formula are known and some are unknown, we can use the known to find the unknown. So sometimes, let's say for example, we know the length of a rectangle, which we cited in our last lesson. Let's say we know the length of a rectangle to be 2 centimeters, but we don't know the breadth of the rectangle, but we also know the area of the rectangle is what? Let's say it's 20 centimeters square. Okay, so it's possible. So not the area, the perimeter. I meant the perimeter. So the perimeter is 20 centimeters. Okay, so I can possibly find the breadth. Okay, because there is a formula or there's an equation that links all these variables together. So the purpose of formulas is to find unknown variables. But how do I find the unknown variable is the question. And that is why we need to change the subject. For example, perimeter is a subject here, and length, we have length plus breadth on the other side of the equation. What we are looking for is the breadth, which is unknown. The length is known and the perimeter is known. So we have to rearrange this formula such that breadth now becomes the new subject, because the breadth, which we don't know, now becomes the new subject, and then it becomes easy for us to find the breadth. This rearrangement of formula to make a variable a new subject of the formula is called change of the subject of the formula. So how do we change the subject of the formula? Well, this is really variable, but there are some basic rules about it that we can learn. Okay, first let's look at the example that we used in our last lesson, where we were looking for the area of a square, and we said the area of a square is the product of two of its sides, and we know that all the sides are the same, so A is equal to L squared. So if we know A but we don't know L, we can actually find L, right? And the way to do that is to make L the new subject of the formula. So how do I make L the new subject of the formula? Well, I'm going to make L the new subject of the formula by using what I call the reverse process. For example, if you have, let's say we have a formula or an equation like y is equal to uh, 2x, for example, the relationship between 2x is what? It's a multiplication relationship. So that's 2 times x. That's the relationship that exists between them. So to reverse this relationship, what am I going to do? I'm going to divide, isn't it? So there are two factors here. One is 2, the other is x. I want to make x the subject of the formula. So to make x the subject of the formula, therefore I have to make x to be a standalone on the left side. So I can rearrange this equation to be what? 2x is equal to y. Okay? Now to make x the subject of the formula, because there's a multiplication relationship between these two, and when you have multiplication, to reverse it, you divide. The opposite of multiplication is division. So just like we learned in our previous lessons, we're going to divide this by 2. Okay, and so this becomes what? And then you also divide the other side of the equation by 2. So what you have is x is equal to y over 2. So essentially what I've done is that I have now made x the subject of the formula. So I have changed it from y now to be x. So the same thing we can do with a is equal to L times L, because we know that a, which is equal to L squared, is the same as L times L. Okay, if we rearrange, it's like L times L is equal to A. Now, to only have one L on the left side, what do? We divide this side by L, isn't it? So, if we divide this side by, we can also divide this side also by L. Okay, but that's not what we're going to do here because this is different. Okay, so L times L is actually L squared, right? So, sorry about that. So L times L is actually L squared. So we're going to say this is L squared is equal to A. Now, to reverse a square, you know square is a product of two numbers. What is the reverse of square? The reverse of square is a square root, okay? So we're going to take a square root of both sides. So take a square root of this side and take a square root of that side, okay? So once you take a square root of both sides, the reason why we are not going the way of taking L to divide is because we don't know what L is and we can't go through with that process. So this one only applies to maybe algebraic equations. But when you're talking about real formulas, formulas like this, L squared, it's better for you to use the reverse process. Okay, so we take a square root of both sides. So the square root of L squared will leave us with L, and then what we have is square root of A. Okay, and that's the reason why in that example where we said the area of the square was 144 centimeters squared, what is the length? All we just needed to do was just change the subject of the formula to L and take a square root of 144, and then we got an answer of 12 centimeters. So the primary thing you want to learn here is that it depends on what the formula has in it, what kind of operations. If it has addition in the operations, then the reverse process is going to be a subtraction. If it has a multiplication in it, then the reverse process is going to be a division. If it has a square in it, the reverse process is going to be a square root. If it has a cube root in it, the reverse process is going to be the third root of it. So the primary thing is that we reverse the process to get our new subject of the formula. We're going to apply this when we try several examples, both simple and complex change of subject of the formula. So you want to remember that when you are changing the subject of the formula, first the change of subject of formula means the change of the standalone that is on one side, so change one variable to the other variable. And how to do that is by a reverse process. If what made up the formula is a multiplication, then you want to divide. If it's a square, then you want to take a square root. If it's a cube root, then you want to take a third root, and so on. So these are the basic principles that you need when you are working with change of the subject of the formula. In the next lesson, we're going to look at several examples. That's it on change of subject of the formula part 2. Thank you for watching.